Dr. Alan Carter looked through his telescope at the night sky. The stars shone brightly above the Arizona Deep Space Observatory. It was late, and most of his colleagues had gone home. But Alan couldn't leave yet. Something strange had appeared on his monitors 3 nights in a row. "There it is again," he whispered to himself. The signal wasn't random noise. It had patterns, structure. It came from somewhere beyond our solar system. Alan rubbed his tired eyes and reached for his phone. There was only one person he wanted to call at this hour. "Olivia. It's Alan. The signal is back. I think you should come see this." Dr. Olivia Reeves arrived 20 minutes later, her curly hair still messy from sleep. She'd thrown on jeans and a sweatshirt, not bothering with her usual neat appearance. "This better be good, Alan," she said, but her eyes were already fixed on the monitor. "Oh my God. Is that?" "Yes. It's been consistent for 3 nights. This isn't natural. Someone or something is sending this." Olivia sat down and began typing rapidly. "Let's run it through the new decoding algorithm." They worked through the night, drinking coffee and barely speaking. As dawn broke over the desert, the computer finished its analysis. "It's a message," Olivia said, her voice barely above a whisper. "And there's more. These look like blueprints." Alan stared at the screen. "Blueprints for what?" "Some kind of device. Based on these specifications, it uses quantum principles we've only theorized about." Over the next few weeks, they'd brought in more scientists. None of them could believe what they were seeing. The signal contained detailed instructions for building a machine unlike anything humans had created before. "It's a beacon," said Alan after they'd studied the plans for a month. "A quantum resonance beacon that can send signals instantly across any distance in space." "But why would someone send us plans for this?" asked Olivia during one of their late-night sessions. The answer came 2 days later when they decoded another layer of the message. Alan called an emergency meeting with the team and the observatory director. "It's a warning," he said, his face pale. "The civilization that sent this is trying to warn us about something they call the Devourer, some kind of cosmic entity that consumes entire star systems." "You can't be serious," said the director, frowning. Olivia displayed the translated text on the main screen. "They say this entity moves from galaxy to galaxy, using various methods to prepare worlds for consumption. The beacon isn't just for communication. It can be used as a weapon against this thing." "So what do we do?" someone asked. Alan looked around the room at his colleagues. "We build it. We follow these instructions and build the beacon." The government got involved after that. A special facility was constructed in the desert, hidden from public view. The best scientists and engineers from around the world were brought in. Progress was slow at first. They were working with concepts beyond current human understanding. 6 months into the project, Olivia made a breakthrough that allowed them to complete the power source. 3 months after that, they finished the quantum core. On a cold night in January, they activated the beacon for the first time. The device hummed with energy, its central crystal glowing with a light that seemed to come from somewhere else. "Did it work?" asked a government official who had come to witness the activation. Alan checked the readings. "Yes, it's broadcasting. The message is being sent exactly as specified." "What happens now?" Olivia asked. Alan looked at the pulsing light of the beacon. "Now we wait, and hope someone friendly answers before something else notices us." No one realized then that the clock had started ticking. Humanity had just announced its presence to forces beyond their understanding, and the universe had heard them. 6 months after the beacon's activation, Earth received its first response. Not a signal, but visitors. The Araxian ship appeared suddenly in orbit, causing panic among world governments. Military forces went on high alert. News stations broadcast continuous coverage. People around the world watched the skies in fear and wonder. Dr. Alan Carter and Dr. Olivia Reeves were immediately flown to Washington. They joined a hastily assembled first contact team that included Navy Commander John Miller and diplomatic specialist Lisa Garcia. This is because of our beacon, Alan told the president in the Situation Room. They must have received our transmission. 3 days after their arrival, the Oraxians sent down a shuttle. It landed on the National Mall in Washington, surrounded by military personnel and news cameras. The world watched as the ship's door opened. Ambassador Krell stepped out first. He looked almost human, except for his pale blue skin and large, dark eyes. 4 other Oraxians followed him. "We come in peace," Krell said in perfect English. "We received your beacon's call. We are here to help." In the weeks that followed, the Oraxians shared incredible technology. They provided plans for clean energy systems and medical devices that could cure diseases humans thought incurable. They established an embassy in Washington and invited human scientists to learn from them. "They're everything we could have hoped for," Olivia told Alan as they examined a small device the Oraxians had given them. It could purify water instantly. But Alan wasn't convinced. "Don't you think it's strange? They never mentioned the warning in our transmission. The entity the beacon was supposed to help fight against. Maybe that part wasn't clear in the message they received," Olivia suggested. John Miller shared Alan's concerns. As the military liaison to the Oraxian embassy, he noticed things others missed. "They never let us see certain parts of their ship," he told Alan during a private meeting. "And they avoid some of our questions about their home world." Lisa Garcia, who worked closely with Ambassador Krell, defended the aliens. "They're just being cautious. Wouldn't we do the same?" One evening, while working late at the embassy, Alan noticed something unusual. The Oraxians had set up equipment on the roof that wasn't part of the official technology exchange. Curious, he found a way to access the roof after hours. The equipment was some kind of transmitter, sending signals into deep space. Alan managed to record some of the transmission before a guard spotted him. He pretended to be lost and was escorted out. Back at his hotel, he analyzed the recording. The signal contained data about Earth's defenses and population centers. Nothing in the official agreements allowed for such surveillance. "We need to be careful," he told John the next day. "Something isn't right." John nodded. "I've noticed their ships are positioning themselves near our military installations. They claim it's for cultural exchange, but the locations seem strategic." Their concerns increased when several government officials who had spent time with the Oraxians began acting strangely. They pushed for giving the aliens more access to Earth's resources and infrastructure. "They're not just here because of our beacon," Alan realized one night, looking through old translations of the original message. "What if they're connected to the entity we were warned about?" Lisa dismissed their worries. "You're being paranoid. The Oraxians have done nothing but help us." But when Alan discovered hidden transmissions being sent from the new Oraxian technology centers around the world, he knew his suspicions were justified. "The clock is ticking," he told Olivia and John. "I think we've invited in the very threat we were warned about." What none of them realized was that Ambassador Krell was watching them more closely than they imagined, and he had plans for those who asked too many questions. Former Marine William Hayes knew something was wrong the first time he met an Oraxian. Everyone else saw friendly aliens bringing gifts of technology. William saw predators sizing up prey. "There's something off about their eyes," he told his friend Samantha Powell over coffee. "They don't blink enough." Samantha, a cybersecurity expert for the government, had her own concerns. "The technology they're giving us has backdoors built in. I found code that allows remote access to any system connected to their devices." William leaned forward. "Have you reported this?" "I tried. My boss said I was mistaken and took me off the project." Samantha lowered her voice. "The next day, I saw him having lunch with an Oraxian. They weren't the only ones noticing problems. Across the country, a loose network of concerned citizens began sharing observations. People who worked closely with Oraxians started behaving differently. Their speech patterns changed. They became unnaturally supportive of giving Oraxians more access and control. William decided to act. Using his military contacts, He secured an abandoned Cold War bunker in the Rocky Mountains. Samantha helped set up secure communications. They began gathering others who shared their suspicions. Dr. Olivia Reeves arrived at their hideout a month later, looking exhausted and frightened. They tried to arrest Ellen, she told William and Samantha. They're calling him a threat to the New Earth-Araxian Alliance. He's gone into hiding. Olivia had brought something valuable, her research on the original deep space message. I've been working on decoding additional layers of the signal, she explained, spreading out her notes. The beacon wasn't just for communication. It was designed as a weapon. William looked at the complex diagrams. A weapon against what? The message calls it the Harvester. It's not a species, but an entity that exists partially outside normal space. It can't interact directly with our dimension, so it creates biological proxies to prepare worlds for consumption. Proxies like the Araxians, Samantha said quietly. Olivia nodded. The civilization that sent the message was fighting back. They discovered that certain quantum frequencies disrupt the connection between the Harvester and its proxies. The beacon was designed to generate those frequencies. So why did the Araxians come when we activated it? William asked. I think they detected it and came to stop us before we could fully understand what we had built, Olivia explained. The original message wasn't complete. Parts of it were corrupted during transmission. We only built half of what was intended. More people joined the resistance group. Some brought disturbing news. Araxians were building structures in remote areas. Military personnel reported unusual activity around defense installations, and people who spent time near Araxian technology began showing subtle physical changes. Their skin became paler, their eyes slightly larger. They're changing us, Williams said after examining reports from across the country. Preparing humans to become like them. Samantha discovered something equally alarming. The water purification devices they distributed. They're adding something to our water, something that alters brain chemistry. Olivia spent days analyzing the complete beacon plans. If we can modify the beacon to generate the full spectrum of frequencies in the original design, we might be able to break the Araxian connection to the Harvester. How do we do that when they control the original beacon? William asked. We build our own, Olivia replied, and we need to access their main ship to amplify the effect. As they planned their resistance, news arrived that Ambassador Krell had announced the next phase of human-Araxian integration. Thousands of humans would be selected for special genetic harmony treatments. The clock isn't just ticking anymore, William told the others. It's almost run out. Commander John Miller knew the orders were wrong. The directive to reposition Earth's defense satellites came directly from Joint Command, but something felt off about it. The new positions would leave key areas unprotected. Sir, should we proceed with the repositioning? Asked Lieutenant Ryan, looking up from his console. John hesitated. Hold that order, Lieutenant. I want to verify it directly. When his call to command was answered by an officer he'd never met before, speaking in an oddly flat tone, John's suspicions deepened. Later that night, he accessed the command logs using his security clearance. What he found chilled him. The orders hadn't come from human commanders at all. They'd originated from the new integrated communication system provided by the Araxians. John downloaded the evidence to a secure drive and left the base without signing out. He knew this action would mark him as AWOL, but he had no choice. He needed to find people he could trust. 3 days later, after evading military police, John reached the coordinates Dr. Alan Carter had sent him through an encrypted channel. The resistance base in the Rocky Mountains was well hidden, built into the side of a mountain, and shielded from detection. They compromised our entire defense network, John told the group after showing them his evidence. The satellites are being moved to allow something to approach Earth undetected. We've discovered something worse, Alan said, leading John to a secure room where they'd been analyzing Araxian biology. Dr. Olivia Reeves pointed to microscope images displayed on a wall screen. These are cells from an Araxian guard who was injured at the embassy. William managed to collect a sample. John stared at the strange structures. Those don't look like normal cells. Because they're not cells at all, Olivia explained. They're more like components. The Araxians aren't a species. They're constructs. Biological machines created to serve something else. Alan brought up another screen showing complex mathematical equations. We've been analyzing quantum fluctuations around Araxian officers. They're receiving constant input from somewhere else, somewhere partially outside our normal spacetime. The Harvester, John said, remembering what Alan had told him before. Yes, we believe it exists in multiple dimensions simultaneously. It can't fully enter our universe, so it creates these biological proxies to prepare worlds for consumption. William Hayes joined them, bringing more disturbing news. We've intercepted communications between Araxian ships. They're planning something called the Great Joining in 2 weeks. Samantha Powell added, based on the data we've gathered, we think they're preparing to connect large portions of humanity directly to the Harvester's consciousness. Those people who've been showing changes after exposure to Araxian technology. They're being prepared as vessels. John shook his head in disbelief. How many civilizations has this thing consumed? Thousands, according to the original message, Olivia said. But one civilization fought back. They discovered that certain quantum frequencies could disrupt the Harvester's connection to its proxies. That's why they sent us the beacon plans. They weren't just warning us, Alan explained. They were giving us a weapon. Their civilization was already lost, but they hoped another species might complete their work. As the group discussed strategy, alarms suddenly blared throughout the base. Samantha rushed to her monitors. We've got incoming. Araxian shuttles approaching from multiple directions. They must have tracked me here, John said, drawing his sidearm. The group moved quickly to their emergency evacuation plan. As they prepared to split into smaller teams, Alan handed John a small device. This contains everything we know about the beacon modifications. If anything happens to us, find a way to complete the work. John nodded grimly. The truth about the Araxians needs to reach the world. As they escaped through hidden tunnels, John realized the clock wasn't just ticking for them. It was ticking for all of humanity. The Resistance regrouped at their second hideout, an abandoned mine converted into a livable space. Dr. Alan Carter worked frantically at a makeshift lab bench, surrounded by equipment salvaged from their main base. How bad is it? Commander John Miller asked, entering the lab after checking their security perimeter. Alan looked up from his microscope. We lost a lot of research in the evacuation, but we saved the most important parts. Olivia and I have been working on modifying the beacon designs. Olivia Reeves pointed to diagrams spread across a table. The original beacon was only partially complete. It could send and receive signals, but not generate the disruptive frequencies needed to break the Harvester's control. Can you fix it? John asked. Maybe, but we'll need access to the main Araxian ship to make it work properly. Their ship acts as an amplifier for the Harvester's influence. If we can reverse that connection, we can disrupt it completely. William Hayes entered the lab, followed by Samantha Powell. They'd been running operations across the country, gathering more Resistance members, and collecting intelligence. We found something important, William said. Some frequencies physically harm the Araxians. We tested it at one of their smaller facilities. Samantha brought up a video on her tablet. It showed an Araxian doubling over in pain when exposed to a specific sound wave. It's not just sound, she explained. It's a specific electromagnetic frequency that disrupts their cellular structure. We can use it as a weapon. Alan studied the data. This matches what we've theorized about breaking the Harvester's connection. If we can amplify this effect through the modified beacon, we might free the humans who've been influenced. Olivia finished his thought. The group began developing a counter-strategy. John and William would leave a small infiltration team to access the main Araxian ship. Samantha created digital disguises, fake identities that would get them past Araxian security systems. The influenced humans won't notice anything wrong with these credentials, she explained. Their perception is altered by the harvester's control. Meanwhile, Lisa Garcia had escaped Washington after discovering the truth about the Araxians. She brought valuable intelligence about government officials who remained free of Araxian influence. Several military generals suspect something's wrong, she told the group. They'd been keeping their distance from Araxian technology. And 3 world leaders have gone into seclusion, supposedly for health reasons. I think they're avoiding Araxian contact. Lisa used her diplomatic skills to reach out to these potential allies, carefully gathering support without revealing the resistance's location. As their plan developed, Alan and Olivia made a breakthrough with the beacon modification. We've identified the complete frequency pattern needed to sever the harvester's connection, Olivia announced one evening. But we can only generate it for a short time before our equipment burns out. How short? John asked. 10 minutes. Maybe less. William nodded grimly. Then we'll have 10 minutes to end this. They'd practiced their infiltration in an abandoned warehouse, timing each movement. Samantha trained them to move like people under Araxian influence, slightly stiffer, less emotional, with fewer facial expressions. Remember, don't make eye contact for too long, she instructed. The influenced tend to avoid it. The night before their mission, Lisa returned with news that changed everything. I've convinced General Rivera about the threat. He's giving us access to military satellites. We can use them to amplify the beacon's signal globally. Alan's eyes widened. That changes our odds significantly. As they finalized their plans, John found Alan staring at the modified beacon prototype. Do you think it will work? John asked. Alan sighed. It has to. The original message contained one more thing we translated recently. The civilization that fought the harvester was the last of thousands that tried. All the others failed. What made them different? They discovered that the harvester feeds on fear. Previous civilizations panicked, making them easier to control. Alan looked up. We won't make that mistake. Tomorrow, we fight back. The resistance prepared their equipment as the clock continued its relentless countdown. It's time, Commander John Miller told the resistance team. The infiltration group stood ready in their disguises. They wore the silver-gray uniforms of humans who worked with the Araxians, their faces carefully blank like those under alien influence. General Rivera had kept his promise. Military satellites were repositioned to amplify the beacon's signal when activated. Resistance cells across the globe prepared to strike at Araxian facilities simultaneously. Remember, once we activate the beacon, we'll have minutes at most, Dr. Alan Carter reminded them. The harvester will realize what's happening and fight back. Before leaving, Alan handed Olivia a small device. If something goes wrong, this contains everything we've learned. Find another way. The infiltration team boarded a transport heading to the main Araxian ship. John and William took the lead, while Samantha monitored their fake credentials remotely. They passed through security without issue, the influenced humans barely glancing at their IDs. Meanwhile, Lisa Garcia stood before the United Nations Security Council. Using evidence compiled by the resistance, she made humanity's case against the Araxians. They are not what they claim to be, she told the assembled leaders. They are tools of an entity that has consumed thousands of civilizations before us. Ambassador Krell sat listening, his expression unreadable. When Lisa finished speaking, he stood slowly. You present interesting theories, Ms. Garcia, he said smoothly. But I believe Earth's leaders know who truly has their best interests at heart. Several influenced officials nodded in agreement, but others, those who had heeded Lisa's earlier warnings and avoided Araxian technology, remained skeptical. The president of France stood. We have decided to request that all Araxian ships withdraw from Earth orbit until these allegations can be investigated. Murmurs spread through the chamber. This wasn't just one nation speaking. It was an ultimatum supported by several world powers. Krell's face remained calm, but something shifted in his eyes. I'm afraid that won't be possible. The integration process has already begun. Integration? Asked the French president. Yes, what you call a harvester has chosen your world, as it has chosen many before. But your species shows unusual potential. We offer you a choice. Surrender half your population as vessels, and the rest may continue their lives under our guidance. Gasps filled the room. On screens around the world, Krell's appearance began to change. His skin rippled, becoming more translucent. Through it, people could see structures that were definitely not organs, more like machinery, pulsing with light. This is what we truly are, Krell continued, his voice now overlaid with strange harmonics. Not Araxians. That name is meaningless. We are extensions of the one you call a harvester, a being that existed before your sun formed. Across the globe, humans who had been influenced underwent similar transformations. Their skin grew pale and translucent, their eyes darkened, and they moved with mechanical precision toward Araxian facilities. Aboard the main ship, John's team reached the central chamber. They fought through security, using the frequency weapons developed by Samantha to incapacitate Araxian guards. We're in position, John radioed to Alan. Beginning beacon installation now. As William secured the area, John connected their modified beacon to the ship's power systems. The device hummed to life, glowing with energy. At the UN, Krell suddenly stiffened. His body twisted in unnatural ways as he looked directly at the cameras broadcasting worldwide. You think you can fight us? We have consumed 1,000 worlds. Your resistance is... His voice cut off as the beacon activated. The modified frequency spread through the satellites, blanketing Earth and reaching into space. Krell screamed, a sound no human throat could make. His body began to disintegrate, the connection to the harvester weakening. Through Krell's dissolving form, a deeper voice spoke directly into the minds of everyone watching. This minor setback changes nothing. The cycle is eternal. I am patient. I am. The voice stopped as the beacon's power increased. For the first time in its ancient existence, the harvester felt something new. Fear. The clock was ticking down the final seconds of the battle for Earth's survival. The beacon's light pulsed through Earth's satellite network, creating a web of energy that surrounded the planet. On the Araxian ship, Commander John Miller watched as the alien constructs writhed in pain, their connection to the harvester weakening with each second. It's working, John told William Hayes through his comm unit. But the ship's systems are becoming unstable. Warning alarms blared throughout the vessel. The walls themselves seemed to ripple and shift as though the ship was a living thing in agony. We need to get off this ship, William replied. The structural integrity is failing. Down on Earth, Dr. Alan Carter and Dr. Olivia Reeves monitored the beacon's effect from their command center. The energy readings spiked dangerously. The connection is breaking, Olivia said, her eyes fixed on the data flowing across her screen. But the harvester is fighting back. Across the globe, influenced humans collapsed as their link to the cosmic entity severed. Some returned to normal almost immediately, looking around in confusion. Others remained unconscious, their bodies slowly healing from the changes inflicted upon them. At the United Nations, the remains of Ambassador Krell dissolved into a puddle of grayish liquid. The same happened at Araxian facilities worldwide, their biological constructs breaking down without the harvester's controlling influence. But the harvester had one final attack. Massive energy beams shot from the remaining Araxian ships, targeting major cities. New York, London, Beijing, and Moscow were hit simultaneously. Millions died in seconds as buildings collapsed and fires spread. It's trying to force us to surrender through fear, Ellen realized. General Rivera coordinated Earth's military response. Fighter jets launched from hidden bases, attacking the Araxian vessels with weapons modified to use the harmful frequency. Commander Miller led the assault on the main ship, coordinating with Earth forces below. Target their energy weapon systems first, he ordered. We can't let them fire again. The battle raged for hours, But humanity had the advantage. The Harvester's connection continued to weaken, making its vessels less effective. One by one, the Oraxian ships were disabled or destroyed. In a last desperate attempt, the Harvester spoke directly into the minds of those fighting against it. It showed them visions of cosmic destruction, of worlds consumed and species extinguished. It offered power, knowledge, anything to make them stop the beacon. "Don't listen," Samantha Powell broadcasted to resistance fighters. "It's trying to manipulate us through fear. That's how it's always won before." As the beacon reached full power, a strange phenomenon occurred. The space above Earth seemed to tear open briefly, revealing something massive and incomprehensible, a glimpse of the Harvester's true form existing partially in another dimension. The sight drove some observers mad, but instruments recorded the entity's retreat as it was forced away from our galaxy. The war ended not with a dramatic final explosion, but with silence. The remaining Oraxian ships simply shut down, drifting in orbit like empty shells. In the aftermath, as humanity began to rebuild, something unexpected happened. People who had been briefly under the Harvester's control reported strange dreams and new knowledge. They could remember details of other worlds and civilizations that had been consumed. Scientists studied this phenomenon and made an astonishing discovery. The Harvester had accidentally left behind a psychic imprint of its experiences. Humanity now possessed knowledge of thousands of alien technologies and star systems. "It's like we received an encyclopedia of the galaxy," Allen explained to world leaders 3 months later, "including the locations of other civilizations that might still exist." Using this knowledge, Earth constructed a network of even more powerful beacons across the solar system. They sent messages to stars where life might exist, but these weren't pleas for help. They were warnings about the Harvester and offers of alliance against future threats. Earth's military forces incorporated the new technologies, creating defenses that could detect and repel dimensional incursions. The world united as never before, aware that they were now known to the cosmos. The clock continued ticking, not as a countdown to humanity's end, but as a reminder of vigilance. Earth had become the guardian they never expected to be, sending a clear message to the galaxy: approach with hostile intent, and face the species that defeated the Harvester. In deep space, far beyond the reaches of human technology, something ancient and patient watched. The Harvester had retreated, but it had existed for billions of years. It could wait. Next time, it would be prepared. 5 years after humanity's victory over the Harvester, Earth had changed dramatically. The knowledge taken from the cosmic entity had advanced technology by centuries. Cities damaged in the final attack had been rebuilt with new materials stronger than steel but light as plastic. Clean energy powered everything, and diseases that once killed millions were easily cured. Commander John Miller, now Admiral Miller, stood on the bridge of humanity's first true starship. The vessel, named Defender, combined Earth technology with designs from a dozen extinct civilizations. "System check complete, Admiral," reported Captain Susan Wright. "We're ready for our first jump." John nodded, looking at the crew around him. Dr. Alan Carter and Dr. Olivia Reeves had joined the mission as scientific advisors. William Hayes led security, while Samantha Powell handled communications. Lisa Garcia served as diplomatic officer, prepared to represent Earth to any civilizations they might encounter. "Let's make history," John said. "Engage the drive." The ship's quantum engines hummed to life. Stars outside the viewports stretched into lines, and then the Defender vanished from Earth orbit. Light years away, the ship reappeared near a star system identified in the Harvester's memories. Here lived a species called the Nexeri, who had so far avoided the Harvester's attention. "We're picking up signals from the fourth planet," Samantha reported. "Definitely artificial." "Send our greeting message," John ordered. "Let's see if they respond." As they waited, Alan studied the data flowing across his console. According to the knowledge imprint, this species has evolved quickly. They may be ready for the truth about what exists in the galaxy. Hours later, A response came. The Nexeri were cautious but curious. They agreed to meet Earth's representatives on their world. The landing party, led by Lisa and accompanied by Alan and William, stepped onto alien soil the next day. The Nexeri resembled tall, slender humans with violet skin and four-fingered hands. Their leader, Speaker Trell, welcomed them formally. "We have observed your signals for some time," Trell said through a translator, "but we never expected you to arrive in person." Lisa presented Earth's message. The harvester was real. It had consumed thousands of civilizations. Earth had fought it back, but it would return someday. United, intelligent species stood a better chance of survival. The Nexeri leaders listened silently. When Lisa finished, Speaker Trell asked, "Why would you warn us? Why not keep this knowledge to protect only yourselves?" "Because that's what allowed the harvester to succeed for so long," Alan explained. "It isolated each species, making them easy targets. We're breaking that cycle." After 3 days of discussions, the Nexeri agreed to an alliance. They would build their own beacons, joining Earth's growing defense network. Back on the Defender, the crew prepared to visit the next system on their list. But as they entered jump space, something strange happened. The ship's sensors detected a ripple in reality. A familiar pattern. "Emergency stop," John ordered. The ship dropped back into normal space. Olivia rushed to check the readings. "It's faint, but definite. The same quantum signature as the harvester." "It can't be back already," William said. "Our beacons would have detected it." "Not if it's found another approach," Alan suggested grimly. "Something we haven't protected against." John called an emergency meeting of the crew. "We've come further than any humans before us to warn others about the harvester. Now he may have found evidence it's returning sooner than we thought. What do we do?" Lisa asked. "Return to Earth." John looked at each of them. "No, we continue our mission, but with a new purpose. We not only warn others, we actively search for signs of the harvester's return." Samantha nodded. "Earth needs to know what we found." "I'll prepare a message buoy," she said, already working at her station. As the buoy launched toward Earth carrying their discovery, the Defender prepared to continue its journey. The clock that had been ticking as a reminder now took on new urgency. The final battle with the harvester hadn't ended the war. It had only been the first victory in a conflict that might last generations. "Set course for the next system," John ordered. "The warning must spread faster now."